Welcome everybody to CEE Business Buzz, where we talk about the latest trends in business and technology from Central and Eastern Europe. My name is Chris Eichhorn, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to the company MetaGravity, represented by Tobin, Ireland, and Feliks, Olko. I want to get the pronunciation correct. Pleasure to have you with us today.
It's great to be here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining. Today we'll be talking about, the context is the Metaverse. And I think a lot of people have heard about the Metaverse and of course Meta, but maybe it's good to start the conversation with a little bit of context of where we are with the Metaverse, development of the Metaverse, and then we'll get into you and the company of MetaGravity.
Excellent, thanks.
Sure.
Obviously, the phrase "the Metaverse" has been around for a number of years. Originally a book, and then Hollywood took on the concept of building a large-scale sort of consumer computer-generated image films, which were sort of depicting what the future may be like when we're living within a large-scale simulation inside a video game. And that vision of technology's future, where we're moving from sort of two-dimensional social platforms on the web to these three-dimensional worlds where you're living and breathing and working and socializing and creating in the game environment and creating an economy around it, has been well articulated in the creative space, but the technology is still sort of catching up to that, right? But these type of large-scale simulations really exist already in the gaming space, yeah? So I don't really think about the Metaverse being a different thing other than just larger-scale gaming simulations. There's lots of applications in the enterprise space or in digital twin cities or social metaverse experiences or game experiences, fantasy metaverses. But they're all consistent in that they are built in video game technology and built by game developers. I mean, the people who are going to build the metaverse are essentially game developers. Mm-hmm. And there's already widespread usage of gaming platforms happening today. Hundreds of millions of people in Fortnite and in Roblox and in Minecraft. And recently there's been this whole new industry saying the Metaverse is going to be something else, but actually it's just a continuation of the trends that you've already seen in these large-scale gaming platforms. We were recently in California at the Game Developers Conference, GDC, and the gaming ecosystem and economy is very, very vibrant and very, very excited and passionate about the future of these technologies at the moment, around user-generated content with Unreal Engine's Fortnite UEFN launch, with AI, generative AI. So you can literally get an AI machine to build a virtual world in a game very, very quickly now. So the size and the scale of these games will get larger very, very quickly. And so there's a lot of excitement about the potential of those gaming technologies. The bit that's missing a little bit, and you've seen some other announcements, Meta, with Meta Horizons having invested in that platform recently, cutting back a little bit in terms of the resource behind that. AWS and Google sort of getting out of their game application businesses. Microsoft still loves gaming and still buying companies and doing that, but essentially building the video games is a different skill set to running infrastructure. Yeah. The bit of the equation that's missing to how do you make this reality where you're in a fully persistent, fully scalable, fully interactive world is really a technical challenge now. It's about the size and the scale of the infrastructure that can support a mathematical simulation of that level of scale. And all of these game engines that the Metaverse is built on, or games are built on, are actually really good at rendering and gameplay and development, but have never really solved the problem of scale. And one of the challenges, or one of the surprising things about the ecosystem, because everyone sees amazing video games being built every day and hundreds of thousands of people using them, is that there's a sort of fixed limitation in these game engines that only 40 to 60 to 80 people can actually be within the same simulation at the same time. Yeah? So our view is that consumer adoption of these large-scale metaverse worlds is inevitable in the medium to long term. We always underestimate the impact of these technologies in the medium term, but there's a bit of hype now, and we always overestimate the impact and the speed that things happen in the short term. But this will happen. The consumer demand for more interactive experiences, to augment real life, but not instead of real life. But there's a real clear demand there. And as soon as the infrastructure is built that can support these experiences and deliver amazing experiences, then consumers will start using them, essentially.
Right.
So in summary, the metaverse is alive and well. It's just in its infancy. It's got some very strong roots in the gaming industry. There's a long way to go, and there's infrastructure that needs to be built. That's what we're doing at MetaGravity. But these things will happen faster in a more substantial and more pronounced way than anyone's even expecting today.
Sure.
That's our prediction. So.
Okay, good. And what roles do each of you play in the company?
So I was lucky enough to meet my co-founder, Rashid Mansour, about 10 years ago. He'd just come out of his PhD studies program, and I found him in an incubator in London called Entrepreneurs First. He was actually in the very first cohort of that program. And we founded a company called AdBrain together, which was a big data in the cloud company, but focused on advertising technology, which we sold to the trade desk. I'm Rash's wingman, I guess, is the best way of describing it. So he's a very talented electrical engineer, computer scientist, mathematician, philosopher, visionary, polymath. Feliks and I basically are building a great company around his technical vision. So I'm the chief business officer responsible for marketing, business development, finance, investor relations, people. Feliks is our global head of business development.
Yeah, as it usually goes with these sort of things, the role kind of expands as the company grows. But similarly, I met Raj early days. I come from venture capital. I had that interaction with him when he was starting Hadian, which is his pre-year business. I ended up joining the team, getting to know Raj a bit better, and running their gaming and defense sector operations for last, I think, 3 years. And then obviously once Raj kind of split away and started thinking, building kind of new ideas and new mathematical models around his theories, I decided to join him on that journey. In the midst of it, obviously did a bit of consulting within the blockchain space. So it just seemed like the right kind of very exciting opportunity to go into, where everything has been going around during last bull market.
Okay.
So in essence, what MetaGravity is doing is solving a very simple part of the equation, and hopefully we become the most boring company in the world, because no one will have heard of us in the same way that water and electricity are just resources for people to use and build things on.
Right.
So the way it works today is that a game developer will develop in a game engine, and they'll deploy that game on the cloud. But the cloud is constrained by the size of simulation it can support in a single instance of the game. So the problem that we're solving for is, how do you build distributed cloud infrastructure that can allow a larger simulation to be supported? And this is not a new problem. I mean, I think for the last 10 years, people have understood and realized that constraint in the game engines. And there's been lots of companies trying to solve that problem,
or design their own.
and big companies and startups and that sort of thing. There's a couple of companies who have been more successful than others, and one of them is the company that Rashid founded before MetaGravity, called Hadian. It was his second company, and he's in a very unique position, having built AdBrain and having built Hadian, to understand the limitations of the approaches that were taken to try and solve the problem before. And he realized that he had to do two things differently in the new company. One is make it as easy as possible for game developers to use the platform. And a lot of the earlier technology is very, sort of still in prototype phase and requires very low level programming. to build a game on the Hadean or the improbable infrastructure. And you don't do it within these wonderful game engines that developers love working with. So we set up the company to be fully integrated with the game engines, so that game developers could still use all the toolkits that they do. They don't need any new training, any new special skills, and they can just access our infrastructure in the tools that they do. And that's a real innovation for the industry. The two other things are, how do you build an infrastructure that will scale arbitrarily large? Yeah, so there are no mathematical limits in the ideal world. And Rashid understood that he needed to apply a different branch of mathematics to that concurrency problem in compute in order to achieve this distribution, to have a simulation that could be more than tens of thousands of people in a simulation. And that's what we've achieved with MetaGravity. The added benefit of that, because of the efficiency of the platform, it actually uses a lot less capacity in the cloud. So it's a lot cheaper, like order of magnitude cheaper, which is great for games developers who are trying to build profitable businesses.
We're a bit worried about the cloud vendors.
We were worried when we talked to the cloud vendors about, we're not going to be using as much cloud capacity as you think. And they were like, no, we love it. You're lowering our costs, you're improving our products.
Right.
And I mean, there's also a massive sort of climate story here as well, right? Because there are going to be loads and loads of companies building much bigger game simulations in the future. And if that requires so much cloud capacity and electricity to support it, it's sort of you're shooting yourself in the face a little bit. So with our infrastructure, our promise to developers is that it will be the easiest to use. It will deliver arbitrary large scale. It will be lowest cost and lowest climate impact for the industry. And so there's a lot of excitement about what we're doing. We're early days. We're only a year-old company. We're 25 people. Most of them are Rashid and engineers, and then there's a few of us who aren't, the less important ones. And we're scaling up very, very quickly. We're a year and a half ahead of our technical roadmap. We've already built a platform that demonstrates the mathematics that Rashid has innovated around works in a live environment. And in a year's time, we're going to demonstrate the platform and the creativity that unlocks, probably at GDC next year, maybe a bit later. Don't put that on screen. Because what it really does is it gives the game developer complete freedom to develop whatever simulation they want, rather than having to design a game around the constraints that currently exist. So we don't know what that creativity will unlock.
There's some education to be done as well. Right? The industry been building games for 30, 40 years in this specific way, not even encountering the limitations in terms of scale, physics, interaction, amount of AI in a game. It's a completely new kind of game design. That's why the Metaverse is so exciting, because you have those huge engaged communities that could bring a new way of thinking about those problems, or how to interact within a shared reality.
So we're at a very exciting stage, because we're now actually working with commercial partners to allow them to develop on our technology in the year before we make it a commercially released platform. So for the first time ever, game developers can develop experiences that don't have any limits of scale. And they don't really have to worry about the cloud costs of operating their game, because they're going to be below the level that is acceptable. So we've got a lot of excitement from AAA game studios, from Web3 projects, from digital twin cities, from brands who want to build metaverses experiences. There's lots of great stuff has been done in the last 3 or 4 years around the metaverse, and lots of people have really had great ideas and building great stuff, but it's all been limited by this technical constraint. So we're excited about the next wave of innovation that will come out on infrastructure that can actually support the type of technology that people want to build and want to use. And that's probably 12 months away.
We're deliberately focusing on gaming. This is where the hardest edge cases are in this industry, as well as the applications you build are replicable across the industry, not specific to a biotech process or a specific company or a defense company. So this is why gaming is, for us, the cutting edge of what the future of Metaverse will be.
Great. And what brings you to Warsaw in the Central
Here we go.
Eastern European region? What type of talent are you looking for?
Yeah,
what type
yeah.
of benefits do you have in the region?
So the company was born in COVID times when everyone was at the end of a Zoom call and it didn't matter where anyone lived
Sure,
or who they are. We actually hired some people that we didn't know who they were.
Everybody did.
Just behind the screen.
15 employees, 15 countries.
And our first 15 employees were actually in 15 different countries, and then it was my job to try and work out how do we get employment contracts set up, etc. So we've made a very strong commitment for very good business reasons and ecosystem reasons to Warsaw. We're going to have multiple development hubs, but our main development hub we've decided we're going to build in Warsaw. We may have a sub studio in Krakow as well. We do need to hire lots of people. We're probably going to hire 20 to 30 developers and system engineers and back-end Rust developers and project managers, all in our hub in Warsaw. We have a back-end engineering team in Sri Lanka, like really smart mathematicians that Rashid knows from his early days there. And we may have another either business development or development hub in the United Arab Emirates and probably business development in Singapore. But although the company and Rashid and I live in the UK, we're going to move the company's heart and soul into the CE region with Warsaw as the center of that. Mainly for talent access, and also, there's a very, very vibrant game development community in Eastern Europe. And that's both creativity and successful projects, which are great business development partners for us for the future. But there's a really strong talent pool here for Unity and for Unreal developers and just people who are familiar with the gaming industry. So our biggest priority at the moment is finding the best people who want to come and join the best project and the most exciting company that we can build in Warsaw. So if you have any ideas, then email Feliks at contact@metagravity.com.
Here we go.
And let's do it. Come on.
Nice. And looking toward the future, you said that it should be part of an infrastructure that nobody sees and nobody knows about.
Yeah.
How big do you think this could be? What is the vision for this, or is still exploring?
So we believe that that the demand for cloud infrastructure for gaming and metaverse applications is going to grow very large, very quickly in the next 10 years, and that's a view that's shared by Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Oracle. Right, it's a major area of focus for them. Our focus is on building the infrastructure layer that sits on top of the cloud and underneath the engines that does three very simple things. It's the best platform in terms of scalability, it's the cheapest platform, and it's the easiest to use. And our strategy is to deliver on those three promises, and then de facto we believe that we're in a good position for everyone to want to use us. This technology is a little bit more complicated than what happened in Web 1 and Web 2, where the back-end infrastructure was actually relatively generic. But there's some real cutting-edge mathematics that are applied to how do you distribute the compute of a massively scalable simulation, which is protectable IP and with patents behind it. And we're very excited with the insights that we have and the team that we're building and the early results we have. And we would like every time anyone plugs in a game anywhere in the world, it's going to hit MetaGravity, and that's our sort of vision of the future.
Right. That least common denominator platform underneath it all.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, the most boring business of them all.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, it's great to have you in Warsaw, or to be in Warsaw as you're setting up shop here. So wishing you the very best in your development plans.
Thank you.
Before we finish, is there anything else you wanted to say about the company or the vision or the industry to end on?
I mean, in a way, the success of the industry, we were just enabling the industry, right? So I think
Right.
We would love to get to know all of the interesting creators in this space. You know, there's going to be user-generated creators, but the companies that are creating the future in this space, we want to build a company that's at the center of an open ecosystem. We believe in the open metaverse and interactivity, interoperability, and decentralization, and sort of the metaverse for good, and making sure that the performance and the ethics behind the metaverse are actually properly developed. We just need to meet everyone who's interested in this space. We would love to get to know and to get their ideas and to partner with them. And this is going to be a very partnership-led ecosystem in our approach. We don't want to have all the answers. We're just building the infrastructure to enable the creativity. So.
Great. Okay. That's a great place to leave it. So thank you very much. So once again, our guest, Tobin, Ireland, and Feliks, Olko.
That's correct.
Thank you very much once again from MetaGravity. Good luck with your mission.
Thank you.
And welcome to Warsaw.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thanks.
all the best.
Cheers.
Cheers.